Thank you for clicking on this episode of the Meaningful People podcast. Before we go ahead and delve into what's going on over here, just want to talk really, really quickly about an incredible organization. We did an entire podcast on this organization. We're talking about Bonei Olam.
One of my favorite organizations.
And people who aren't so familiar, you can go check out the episode we did with the Bachners, Rabbi and Mrs. Bachner, and we spoke about the incredible, game-changing work that Bonei Olam does for Klal Yisrael. And they have this campaign called Vizakeni. And Vizakeni's whole goal was to get women from all over the world to give $1 a week to fund a couple's treatment to have children. And they set out a goal of 18,000 people, $18,000 are going to fund an IVF treatment.
And how much did they get?
They hit their goal. Nice. They hit 18, but it didn't stop there.
Ooh.
They started a second round and it kept coming. And they hit 25K and it didn't stop there. Right now, they're relaunching this Vizakeni campaign to hit 36K. That's 36,000 women every single week, giving $1 a week that's going to fund 2 couples to get the treatments they need to have children.
They're one of those organizations that if you don't need them,
you're blessed.
You're blessed, but they still need you.
And
you could help. You literally, we spoke with the Bachners about it. If you don't listen to the episode, go listen to the episode. It's a great episode. You literally have the ability to help people have children a lot of the time.
It's
just a financial burden. And Bonei Olam, they don't take anything. They go and they pay for these treatments, and you literally are their slogan, building worlds. They're such a beautiful
they're building worlds up there and down here. It's an incredible thing to be involved in. I know members of my family and yours as well are involved in towards this Vizakeni campaign specifically. I think it'd be hard to find people who aren't involved. But if you're listening to this and you aren't already one of those people that are giving $1 a week to Bonei Olam, the Vizakeni.
It's $1.
$1 a week. And you're part of, just besides that $1, you're davening with them. You're lighting candles with so many women, davening for that couple that you're funding. Head to vzk.life. That's a custom link that we're giving you right here in the Meaningful People podcast.
.life.
vzk.life. And if you enter through our custom link, we got a couple of potential giveaways you can win. Giveaway number 1, which was mentioned by our friends at Bonei Olam, is you get to sit in on an episode here at the Meaningful People podcast studio and just sit in a live episode.
And you could ask a question at the end of the episode if you want, or if you feel comfortable.
Whoever you may be, a husband, a wife, a friend, you can come out to lunch with Yaakov and myself, and we could talk about whatever you'd like. On the house.
I want to talk about other religions. I'd be like, oh, shoots.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's open. Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. And obviously, lunch is on us. So, guys, go ahead to vzk.life.
V as in Veronica, Z as in zebra, K as in kite.
Yes.
.life. Okay.
.life.
Or in the show notes, it'll be
yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube. But if you're listening, make sure to do this. Because you're building worlds.
It's crazy. It's $1, and you're part of this massive, massive community. Could I even say that?
Yeah.
To help people have children. And
like this. If you went to the Sima Shas, you should be entering this.
What if you didn't go? You should also be entering this.
Guys, we love you.
And enjoy the rest of the episode. Welcome to the Meaningful People podcast. The podcast where we talk to people who are...
meaningful.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, this is something a little bit different, but we're going to sit down.
We said that last time,
by the way. It is still a little more different.
It is different, right?
It's even more different because we're wishing Yaakov Langer a big mazel tov on the birth of a baby boy.
Thank you.
Yaakov pointed out that Baruch Hashem, we were both zeicha to have our first babies during season 1.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
A lot of pressure for season 2, though.
We have to have twins.
Ah, man. All right, but big addition to Klal Yisrael and the Meaningful People family.
Thank you.
Should give you much nachas.
I got obviously a lot of beautiful brachas, but something that struck a chord with me was someone said he should be zeicha to be
a meaningful person.
I like a meaningful person. He should be a guest, for the right reasons, and that was very nice.
That's great.
I really appreciated that.
That's great. But no, for real, on behalf of myself and everyone who watches and listens to this podcast, I wanted to wish you a sincere mazel tov.
Thank you.
And delving into what we got going on.
It's
guys,
interesting. I'm interrupting again. When we started this, putting them out, you had a baby, and when we're ending season 1, I had a baby.
And it's so funny because the scheduling, you never really you're like, okay, let's go let's do an 11:39. I'm like, Yaakov, you don't get it, but you'll get it. But and you're like, I don't know. And then then.
But it's still time. I don't know. I still think I'll be able to pull through. But yeah, Nachi all the time is like, Yaakov,
like we need to schedule
you're
things.
Rosie. He's like, no, Rosie needs time now at night. We can't do this at 3 a.m.
Right, at 3 a.m. But
what was it? I interrupted. What were you saying?
We are gonna sit down now and take a deep dive into the episodes that we've done, guys. This has been a heck of a year of podcasts.
It's crazy. And I want to I'm keep interrupting you.
No, but it's fun. It's conversation. It's not an interruption.
So if you didn't listen to all of them, or you only listened to some of them, or even if you did listen to all of them, I think this is a great episode for you, because you're going to be able to hear maybe a little more of, we're going to touch on each episode a little behind the scenes, and you may say like, oh, that's actually interesting. I wasn't familiar with that person, but maybe now I'll click on them, or I clicked on them and wow, that's actually nice insight.
And there's a lot of interesting facts also about the podcast in general and the production side, things that people don't really know. The question I think we get all the time is, did you think it was going to, really become how big has it become? And our answer is always like, not sure. But we'll get to that. But I want to first address something that's been a conversation throughout most of our episodes. I think this segues us perfectly into our first guest, Rabbi Eitan Finer. And what I wanted to say is that people are always saying, Nachi, why does Nachi get this chair that he's sitting on?
Oh, gosh.
This big chair, big illustrious chair. It looks so good. So I just want to take a few seconds here to address that. This chair is, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a chair by its cover either. This chair is so uncomfortable. If you watch our first episode of Eitan Finer, we gave him this chair and he was bopping up and down. He couldn't, this chair moves so much. So if anything, I am really sacrificing my comfort for this chair. But for season 2 of Mirza Shem, we're going to have a whole new setup with new desks and new chairs. So we got that coming. But
we heard that it's a ridiculous amount of time. How like messages on Instagram or emails like, listen, it's very nice, but like
why do you get that?
Why? Yeah. Like it's not covered. And like you even got some Rabbi Ben Shushan, someone we want to have on. He sent you a voice note. He's like, Nachi, what are you doing?
Why are you sitting in that
I will come down there and throw you out of it. But Mirza Shem.
Appreciate all the love.
No, it's nice. No, I don't think we ever took it offensively. Like,
no.
People really have the right intention, and we definitely appreciate that positive.
Right. So our show, Meaning Fuel, got kicked off with Rabbi Eitan Finer, which was an incredible episode, which took place around 8 months ago.
He wasn't even the first. We did like a trial episode. We did an episode that we'll release at a certain point. But he wasn't even our first episode. But while we did it, we're like, he is like, after Nachi and I looked at each other,
he's
like,
number one.
He's number one. He's the perfect pilot for starting this off.
So big shout out to you, Rabbi Finer.
Yeah.
He that episode spoke to so many people, and I think the message a lot of people got from it is like he had some struggles in his life.
Yeah.
He still does.
Yeah.
And just to hear a Rav, someone who is on a pedestal, to hear him not talk like that,
right?
To talk like a normal, regular human being, talk about his struggles, the things that make him cry.
Struck a chord for me that he literally says sometimes he cries himself to sleep.
Yeah,
like you think of these. I think of these people as like superhuman some way. Like, okay, listen, you're in charge, you're a leader. This is what you got to do. But like, he's also a human.
Yeah,
and I think that's
it's so funny. We spoke about so many things about what he wanted to do, law, this, that, and we started talking about like how long his work week is, and he mentioned as a Rav, you give 100-hour work week.
Wow.
And why does he do it? Because he loves the klal, and that is something that I'm so happy we're able to really show the world. That episode, well over 25,000 views and downloads since we put it out, has gone around everywhere. I think it's probably one of the most episodes we get spoken about when we're approached.
When people always, this is a fun topic. People always ask me like, which episode should I listen to? I said, honestly, we get responses like different people like different episodes because we're talking to different people. Different people, they connect with different people. But Rabbi Finer's one is, I know it's always a safe bet. And I say start from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I know with Rabbi Finer, there's something there for everyone. Something I want to talk about, which Nachi and I have spoken private before. Obviously, Baruch Hashem just had a baby. I've been married for more than 5 years. So I know for myself, I was getting goosebumps and really getting so much chizuk from how open Rabbi Finer was about their struggles and everything in the right time. And so it definitely, I know for myself, and I know other people reached out to us and saying like, him just opening up. And it's an idea that we haven't, who knows, but maybe we'll have Rebbetzin Finer talk about her experiences.
Absolutely. One day. That's definitely something we hope to get done.
So I want to transition to the next episode. And
totally different.
Different. My in-law's neighbor, he came over to me. He's like, you should know. He's a white Jew person. He's like, the Rabbi Finer episode is amazing. Like, what you guys are doing, I'm so excited for. And then he came over to me the next week. He's like, Uncle Moishy? And I'm like, yeah, of course, Uncle Moishy. He's like, oh, I feel like you're just having, rubs and stuff. And I said, no. Like, the goal of this is meaningful people. It's not meaningful rubs, not meaningful rabbanim. I mean, obviously, we'll have all the rubs and rabbanim. A lot of them are. Amazing. But before we started, at least for me, sorry, I spit. At least for me, I don't have COVID. I just tested in the hospital. But at least for me, Uncle Moishy was the most sought out person I wanted.
Yeah, I remember sitting down with you and we were making our list of people we want. And I think glowing at number one, top of the sheet was Uncle Moishy. And it's not for reasons people might think because whatever,
he's famous or this. Or yeah.
I think we both at a point looked at Uncle Moishy as one of the biggest mechanchim that Klal Yisrael has ever seen, similar to Mr. Rogers in the society, who he is for them.
I happen to love Mr. Rogers. Just saying. Do you like Mr. Rogers?
I do. I mean, it's very calming.
It's a very good documentary on him,
very
by
calming.
the way.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
very calming.
But like what you're saying, he's a mechanech
people, and I don't
for
think
you
people
then.
think about. I think people think of maybe Uncle Moishy as a businessman or he's a performer.
Or people are like saying like, oh, I skipped Uncle Moishy. Like, it's a joke. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, he's having fun and he's kids olive bays, but like, think of what he's doing.
And the biggest thing that we were able to really get to in that episode, and this was like my goal is like, okay, like, but when you take off the hat and the M and everything, what's the gig here? And that's who he is.
Right.
Uncle Moishy is Uncle Moishy. That's who he is in life. So it's not, it was so interesting to me. I just kept trying to peel off that layer.
Right. I think I'll be transparent. I think the word he kept a little defense up, a little, like he opened up a lot. I think he was a little like protecting. Also, again, when we did it with him, we never released any of these yet. So a lot of the first episodes, the first like 10 episodes, people didn't even understand.
That's why Rabbi Finer was so good because he was just open.
Yeah, he just went for
like an open book.
He said back to Rabbi Finer. I said, could we talk about your son? I know it's he has a special needs son, and it was struggled to the point till he was born even. And he's like, Yaakov, if the world will get chizik from Adam Yeshaya Feiner, we're going to talk about Adam Yeshaya Feiner. And
we spoke about him a lot. Yeah.
So that was for Uncle Moishy. I thought that was great. Maybe we'll have him back to go a little deeper and talk about different things that we couldn't talk about.
Yeah, but it's funny. That episode, it's funny that you mentioned. People say like, oh, I listened to like that. My Uncle Moishy I didn't really get to yet.
Right?
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. Because there's so much packed into that episode. I think you'll enjoy it. And I think episode number 3, Charlie Harary. Which is like, Charlie Harary is like, he's like Coke. Like for Klal Yisrael. Like that's, Charlie Harary is a household name.
Was I offensive when I said I never heard him speak?
When you said it to his face?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah? I totally didn't mean to be offensive.
I know.
I just wanted to be like...
You never mean to be offensive.
I just wanted to be very like transparent with him and be like, listen, I've heard so much about you and I'm not going to watch you on a video before I could see you live. And he was becoming a lot more popular when I was still in Israel.
Right.
And after speaking to him, I'm like, okay, I really want to hear this guy. Like he was so tapped in. Do you remember why we were so scared right before he came? Like, but when he came,
why we were so scared?
Yeah. Do you remember what we asked him?
I remember we were speaking. I'm so happy we're doing this episode because people don't know the conversations we have
so that's
before the camera and the mic go on. But I remember us sitting there and discussing what we want to talk about with him, and he said to us, I just don't want to talk about me.
Right.
And me and you looked at each other and we're like, that's all we want to talk about. That's literally the entire show.
Like you give your inspirational, or again, he probably hates that, but you give your speech or chizik or whatever you're talking about, then this is like a kind of a biography about you.
And again, I think we were able to get, a lot there.
But if you listen closely, he pivots very well. He
deflects. He's like the goalie of the year.
He was very good.
Deflecting questions about himself. And it's also another guest that if we were to have now, it'd probably be way more open. That was so much in the beginning of when we started, and I don't know if maybe we didn't have as much as a reputation or whatnot.
He's also a humble guy, like he came in with, you would think like a big, successful, good speaker. He come in with like AirPods. Remember, he came in with like these like very old fashioned like ones with
the headphones.
Yeah, we should probably get him up here.
First world problems. Right? He's not wearing AirPods.
No, but like he's a very with it guy. Yeah, like I would have assumed that, but like he's like, no, these work. Like, what's the problem?
Right.
Okay, transitioning to our 4th episode.
Charlene Aminoff. That was definitely, and it still is, one of the mostly viewed,
mostly downloaded
episodes.
Most audio listens.
Yeah, and it's up there. It's up there at number 2 or 3 in terms of YouTube views. At 27,000 YouTube views. So impressions wise, that episode reached well over close to 40,000 people, about. And there's so much there. It was just unreal. And there's so many things I didn't know. A lot of people have heard of Charlene Aminoff's story with her daughter Gali, who drowned and Baruch Hashem survived in Florida, where then Charlene went on to become from,
or more religious. I think she was.
Yeah,
like
she was from,
religious.
but more religious, and started covering her hair and Gali got her wigs and everything.
Shout out to Jonathan, her husband. I love him. I love both of them. They're incredible.
And Zachary.
Nice.
And the things I didn't know, and I think this is something that's so interesting, is that the aftermath from her daughter drowning.
Right.
She couldn't bathe her daughter without throwing up and going into a complete panic attack for a long time.
Yeah.
If she would see her daughter's hair wet, she would throw up.
So I really liked that because I don't like it. Sounds crazy.
It's very interesting to like.
No, I really liked our that we had the opportunity to. She speaks a lot and she says over the story, but we kind of, I don't think it happens so much in the film world where you get to talk to someone and have an interview conversation with them. Okay, we hear the story and now we could like dig deeper and be like, but what happened after that? How do you feel about that? We're able to really get into it. Like I had a few people say like, by the way, you should just know I heard her story before and I still hear her story, but this was like, it was different. It was able to get into the nooks and crannies of that.
Yeah. And we touched upon a few important things in that episode. Obviously she's someone who's very popular, has over 50,000 followers on Instagram, and
like real followers. Not that other places don't have real, but like she
has one of the most engaged followings, loyal followings on Instagram, for sure.
It's insane.
And extremely popular, and she Baruch Hashem uses it very well. She's actually, a new book just came out written by Yisrael Besser from Art Scroll called Nishmas, and I know she
was part of it.
She does have a part in it.
It's so funny. But I saw that book and I'm like, this is like so Charlene. I didn't know that. Okay, I'm happy about that. Okay, cool.
She does have part in it.
That's awesome.
So that Nishmas movement that she really is behind is incredible. I think that important point that we touched upon with her as well is that, like, she is an influencer and she's on Instagram and everyone sees the moments in her life and the good moments, and she had mentioned a line in that episode when she said people don't see those dark times when I'm in Sloan Kettering with my mother.
Right.
They don't get to see when I'm crying or when this or when that. And I think it was an important thing, and it was, I commend her for bringing that up and saying that, because I think it's a very big disservice to society, and especially for the young people growing up, our age, younger, to think that everyone you see on social media and everyone you see on camera, and even us on this camera, everything's perfect and everything.
But for me, Baruch Hashem, everything is perfect. But I understand what you're saying.
For other people,
no, 100%.
So I think, and I think honestly, it's a theme with all of our guests that we're able to do is
talk about the tough times. Talk about
them
when people aren't looking at them like what they're really going through.
Yeah, and it really had to draw chizik from it, and because I think not to delve too much, not to spend too much time on this, but I think that if we don't do that, then the second anybody who is a follower, right? Regular person. The second that person starts experiencing tough times, they think, "Oh gosh, I'm not normal. This is over."
Right.
Everyone has that.
This is coming. This is coming from you yourself, like thinking that, and I think we all do that. You go and social media, and just, or not even social media. You see like a Rav, you see a public figure, and like they have everything figured out. Like, nope, they have a lot figured out, but they're humans. They struggle. That's funny.
Which guest did we say like? I don't know who it was, and you might not know either, but we said, "Oh, it looks like you have everything figured out," and he's like, "I have everything figured out. I have nothing figured out."
Charlie Harary.
Was it?
Yeah,
I think it was Charlie, but I think that's such a big important point in this podcast. What we're trying to do with all our guests, is to show people that these people are approachable. I think they're regular.
But going on that point, it's like we get that all the time. Like, how do you get these people? So certain, obviously certain people are harder to get, but at the end of the day,
secure, just like, you mean actually securing them to come on to
the show. But like,
because we're doing these in person. It's not Zoom.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I just need 30 minutes of your time. People are driving from Brooklyn,
and we're asking them like, hey,
Lakewood.
could you also open up about everything about your life?
Yeah.
But, from people, I think it's a beautiful thing. Like we really have a community, and we're able to tap into those resources, in the non-Jewish world. Like if you want to, I don't know, speak to Oprah or speak to like these big public, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, like
all the money in the world might not be able to get that done.
It's very, very difficult to do that. But like with us, you could speak to literally Gedolim. You could go to Rav Chaim's house.
Yeah.
His literal house. And like, I definitely take that for granted. And it's definitely, I feel very blessed.
And it's so cool because
we could approach these people.
I think one of the most amazing things, just for myself, and I think for you as well, was besides for being able to put out content like this, it's to be able to sit down with these people. Well, like when else did I ever have an opportunity to sit down with Moshe Weinberger for over an hour and just talk to him?
Wild.
Like sit down with the Bachners, who are responsible for over 9,000 children being born into the world.
That's true.
That's like, that's like getting breakfast.
And it's not, by the way, it's why I'm talking to the Bachners, but he even said, we're like, oh, it's someone who needs help, like emotionally, like what, he's like, tell them to call me. Like,
I think that's something about cholesterol.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
yeah.
It's the guy is of the busiest people in the world. He's like, if someone needs my help, call me. Like,
so everyone is listening, that's cholesterol, and like take advantage of the well springs of personalities we have.
This is what I don't want. I don't want people. And I've been getting it. Like, could you send me that person's number? Yeah. I don't like. I know. You do your research and you get to them. Like, it's definitely doable. But like, I also don't want it to turn into like now all of a sudden like we'll be busy with like distributing all these people's numbers. Like, if you really
now introducing the Meaningful People Directory, meaningfulpeopledirectory.com.
Let's move on to the next episode,
which really segues what you just brought up into perfectly to our next episode. Rabbi Yaakov Bender is one of the busiest people, one of the biggest mechanchim, one of the busiest people, and the question we get about that is, how in the world did you get him in your studio for an hour to sit down and just talk?
It took a few weeks. It took a few weeks, but he was very receptive.
He was very willing from the beginning.
Yeah,
and I think we were both shocked that one was happening, because that one was like, whoa.
You know what? I want to say this. I'm not going to throw out any names. There are definitely a few guests. I mean, we probably have 50 people potentially coming on. It's just a question of when and how. But we've reached out and we've gotten a few like, I'm very busy. And I'm not underplaying it. These people are busy. But
life is busy.
But you look like I look at like someone like Rabbi Bender. Like the man is running one of the largest yeshivas, and he's still, and obviously it was local, so it's a little easier, but he's like, I'll make time for you. And I was just blown away by that. I want to say something, get something off my chest. Rabbi Bender was the hardest person to interview for me. I don't know if that's true for you as well. Because he's so busy, he's always, anyone knows his personality, he's always in a rush. So I'm like I just like felt like I need to get these questions out. But it was cool to like talk about his experiences and
his upbringing.
It was really cool, and just talking about running a yeshiva, like what's that like?
Fun fact: we're sitting. Obviously, people who listen to and watch that episode saw it happen, but he kept looking at his phone and looking, and his granddaughter was, he was waiting for his granddaughter to get engaged. He was getting engaged that night,
right?
Which, thinking about it, it's so nice of him to actually come on the show, knowing that she was getting. I feel like if my granddaughter was getting engaged, I'd be sitting at my home waiting, the whole time. But that's just so, part of who he is he's doing constantly,
right?
And he took the time out to come and to sit down with us to share, parts of his life that I think a lot of people were able to, be inspired from.
Yeah, no, that was great. Moving on to...
This is your guy.
Okay, Rabbi Ari Dembitzer. People who listen know that I'm a big Camp Simcha person.
A bit of a background about this episode.
Yeah, sure.
It's a cold Tuesday night at midnight.
Right after the Chai Lifeline dinner.
And Yaakov's like, Nachi,
and
let's do an episode.
Oh gosh, yeah.
At midnight.
It was
our
latest. And fun. I mean, if you listen, it was his birthday. He literally just turned.
He turned 40, I think.
No. Was it 42, 43? I don't remember.
Who knows?
Either way, and he also he flew in from Omaha. So for people who know him, he has two sides. He has a very serious, philosophical, thought out, brilliant side. And that's the side that we saw. And he is the head counselor of Chai Life for Camp Simcha for many, many years. He's crazy. He's wild. He's fun. I personally have seen him he can make any sick kid in the most pain laugh, have a fun time. He's brilliant with people. I've literally seen that. So that side of him, like the fun, crazy side, we didn't get to see because it was like we were having a serious conversation and it was a very serious thing. So, I'm potentially open to one day have him back on and get him in. Maybe we'll do it in Camp Simcha.
Maybe in Camp Simcha, a live show.
Maybe.
But that was it was a late night.
Yeah.
Props to Yaakov. Yaakov picked him up and then drove him here and then drove him back, I think, and then drove back.
Yeah. Well worth it though.
That was getting to know him, and I think the angle was sort of also thinking about someone like that who's head counselor of Camp Simcha. There's many people that he had counselored that are no longer alive, whether it be young children or adults who have sickness, and your job is his job is really to be this happy, excited guy and keep everyone upbeat and pumped. But everyone's like surrounded by the inevitable, which is death or sickness. So
I don't know what Camp Simcha was before he got there, but it definitely what it is today. I mean, obviously owe to a lot of people's work, but he definitely transformed at least the boy session, what it is. Just the dynamic, that feeling when you go there. I think they say it's the happiest place on earth or something like that. Yeah, it's really true. Like for me, artistry is like
made from the best.
Oh gosh,
okay, we have a lawsuit from State Farm already, and then
another one. But for me, it's like artistry, but literally, Camp Simcha outside of artistry is it's the place. You go there and you're faced with people with the craziest situations, and it's literally a blast. So a lot of that is really owed to him.
Eretz Hashem, this summer, everything should be back to normal. We should be able to go back there. Zvi Gluck.
Yes.
That was the first episode that we shot that we did socially distanced a little bit.
Because all those other ones were before COVID.
Yeah. And this was the episode. It was challenging. We had him come down to the office and we sat socially distanced in here. And
you wore a mask on your chin the whole time.
Yeah, I was.
I'm like, Nachi, either wear your mask, which I didn't want you to, honestly, because I want to see, your beautiful full face, or take it off. You're like, you just had a baby.
I know.
And you're like, and we still didn't really know. Like, we were doing the distancing, and that was.
It was so I think everyone has moments during this pandemic that they're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? I'm wearing gloves. How many times I'm in shul and I see a guy wearing a mask, dancing and hugging people?
Right.
Like, what's up?
Right. I know.
It's no hard. Judgment. Everyone does what works for them. But this episode, and I think this is probably on your mind also, Yaakov. From this episode, we got, I don't know if our first, but one of the most real feedback in form of an email from someone who listened to this episode. An episode we talked about sexual abuse and mental, emotional well-being and all these, sort of taboo topics you could say. We had someone reach out to us and say that from listening to this episode, they reached out to Amudim.
Yeah, they didn't even know about Amudim.
They got help. They were in an abusive relationship, and they were able to go ahead and get help through Amudim. And that was one of the most, humbling moments, I think, for me when it comes to the podcast, to see that, this episode and these episodes in general make, such a difference, and people utilize them to affect change in their lives.
Yeah,
I think we spoke about so many important topics in that episode with him. We didn't leave any stone unturned?
No,
we made
it was wild, and he showed us after the episode the amount of calls that they were getting.
Yeah, that's something that...
And the amount of calls that they just get in general, it's I think both of our eyes, and probably a lot of listeners' eyes, were just opened. Like you hear about these things, and like honestly, I'm like, okay, yeah, in the non-Jewish world, this happens a lot. But like from community, we have so many, Baruch Hashem, so many good people, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people that need help, and hurt people is the saying they say.
So that leads to a lot of hurt people.
Yeah,
and
unfortunately,
and after that episode, what people don't really know or were able to see on the episode is we sat here, and in a very obviously confidential, anonymous way, he was showing us, like you mentioned, numbers of emails, call volume, and broken down by like category of what this is. So this type of abuse, that type of, let's say suicide or this or that. And we were just like, this is happening.
Right.
He's like, yeah. And it's happening here and there and
right.
everywhere. And the work that he does, Amudim and Zvi Gluck, is just, it's like I want to say it's like the garbage man for Klal Yisrael, but he's literally going there and he's making sure that he's like a janitor.
Yeah, Zvi Gluck's the janitor. Nice. I hope he's listening to it. Actually, I
hope everyone knows what I mean.
Yeah, sure. He's garbage. I'm kidding.
We love you too.
So it happens to be on that episode. I don't want to ruin the line, but this is my goal with these episodes. I like. Whenever we have a very serious conversation, I know serious conversations are serious, and obviously there's not always a time for joke. I have to hold myself back.
We should just show the clip of the line.
No, it's going to be annoying.
Okay,
no, because you have the beginning and the end.
You have to
but I always
to
try to that's my goal here. Like I want to make it like fun also, and
right.
add in jokes, and when it's very in the right time.
Yeah.
But I had you
like
know what I'm
shirt.
Referring to, like my shirt.
Yeah.
My shirt says tomorrow, and then it says today.
Yeah.
Made by Nicholas McGallis, a great artist.
Not sponsored.
But no. So with that, I had the mazel to make a joke about.
And it is mazel.
The wrong tzvi by a meeting, and then I whatever. You have to listen to that episode.
It was a great line.
If you know what I'm talking about. I can't top it. That is the top.
You think so?
Yeah, that's it. That is I can't. It was a kiss from Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. So okay.
It definitely was. It was a great line. It got a real belly laugh also. So that was a win.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Reb Chaim Tzvi's center.
Yeah.
Who is my Rosh Hashiva.
Social distance episode number 2. Yeah.
Exactly. Who. Before I remember Nachi, of him.
I was nervous.
Yeah,
I was very nervous. And again, just jumping right in, I personally am nervous before most of these episodes.
Right.
Yaakov selectively. But it's funny how both our nerves will manifest itself. Both very different. I was nervous before this episode. I had never met Rabbi Chaim Tzvi Center. I knew he was someone who's larger than life. People loved him. And I don't know. I had jitters going into it, and they were really, not a thing.
Like the first
away.
First minute after you heard him speaking, you're like, okay, this is he knows what he's doing.
And it was I think it was just a great conversation.
So something I thought was really sweet. We finished the episode, and every here and there we ask guests, like, is there something else that like you might have wanted to talk about? And he's like, actually there is. He said, when I was younger, I had a reading disability. Like I wasn't, I needed some,
not dyslexia, but sort of.
Yeah, but like he needed he needed help with that. And he's like, you know what? Like I want to ask my wife first if like I could be that
right.
open. Like for her, like for me, he's like, I don't care, I'll talk about it. But for her, and we recorded it, and
we asked,
and then he asked her and got the green light, and then we put it in the middle of that.
So people
episode.
don't even know that was sort of pieced together, because it sounds like it was in the regular conversation
editor,
and
Srili,
a big shout out to Srili Saflis for doing all the work he does and making sure these episodes are edited and packaged in such a great way in speedy time. So shout out to you, Srili. But that was something that we it was so thoughtful of him to bring up.
Yeah,
it's literally becoming so vulnerable, talking about he said he couldn't make a bracha by a Torah. He would be choking over his tongue about it.
Right.
And obviously he's come a long way, but definitely a shout out to Ari Center for bringing that out. We definitely got a lot of his yeshiva guys listening to that episode.
He by the way, he's experienced it. It was amazing. No smartphones, and now, you know, the yeshiva adapted, and yes, smartphones, but with the right filters and just with the essentials, what's needed. So I remember after, you know, you were telling him your app was coming out, Meaningful Minute app, which no one has it. You should download it. It's great.
No one has it?
If you don't, no, a lot of people have it.
Yeah.
I have it.
Do you? I see.
It's somewhere. I really have it. I use it. It's like a mixture of like Instagram and Twitter and Torah.
Yeah, people
it's
can
awesome.
listen to the podcast on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I brought it up
you were
to him.
But you were like, before, you're like, oh, he's not gonna like. I'm like, no. Like, for those who don't know Rabbi Center, like, they get the wrong impression. He's so innovative, always coming up with like, he loves technology. He just wants it to be used in the right way. And he's like, I love this app. This is really cool.
It's so funny. I think that you brought up a question with him. What's your biggest failure? And it was just a funny question. If you guys want to hear his answer, you go back, listen to that episode.
He has so many failures,
but
it's
he's
awesome.
so open with it.
He and I really look up to him of how many times he fails. I'm not kidding. He tries a bunch of different ideas every year with how to run the yeshiva and how to innovate and how to make life better for everyone. And he fails so much, and it's a breath of fresh air to see that. And he doesn't stop. He just goes on and on.
That's incredible. And in light of talking about that, going on and higher and higher.
Ooh, nice transition.
Let's transition straight into Benny Friedman. I think first of all, I think you were nervous about that episode. I think you were nervous for it.
Yeah, I was a little. I'll be honest. I was a little starstruck by him.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, that's again, I want to just mention that that's an example of someone who's extremely busy, who drove from Crown Heights to here in the Five Towns to come speak to us for an hour. Really, really nice thing to do.
But hold on, we did have a little pull. You are like his like cousin,
but still. I
know. No, it was very sweet of him. But after that episode, I wasn't surprised because I'm like, he's a really sweet and down to earth person. A lot funnier than I anticipated. He's a funny guy.
He's totally normal. No,
but obviously normal.
He's funny.
No, he has a sense of humor. Like,
why not?
I didn't.
Why do people think that just because someone's a professional in a certain field, they can't be funny? You're not allowed to be funny.
Because you know him as like the singing guy, Chorosho. You know, like, I didn't think of him like, oh, he's a funny personality also.
And I think the funniest thing is when we were walking downstairs with him after the show. First of all, walking, everyone who sees him goes, oh, Benny Friedman,
right.
Benny Friedman. And someone walked over to him and said, how are you, Benny Friedman? He said, how am I Benny Friedman? Well, my father named me Benny because... And it was just an example of just the lightheartedness. And part about that episode that I loved, and I think we have in each of our episodes probably a moment that is either a meaningful minute or it went viral in a video on our page or on a WhatsApp, which happens so funny all the time. It just gets shot out.
We're like, what? I'm like, Nachi, did you cut that clip? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, I guess it's going out. Hopefully they'll watch the full episode.
There's a yeshiva somewhere of guys just cutting clips and shooting them out from their WhatsApp groups. But his vart about sometimes when you're singing and you're in the bridge with your voice, something he learned from Donnie Gross, Zvi Silverstein, is to not go under. He says about Chabad var lechatchila, I don't know what word he used, to go over, to go higher, to go...
Lamala? I don't remember.
Nah, whatever. It was like a Yiddish thing. But...
Oh, Ungenstarken.
Yes,
I don't know Yiddish.
Yes. But he was saying that sometimes when you're in that rough moment, to go stronger and go higher. Don't go below, don't go around. And that's what he does with his voice. That's what he learned to do with his voice. And if you listen to his most recent album, you'll hear a difference in his voice than from his previous albums. And he so humbly acknowledged that. And he welcomed that criticism. He welcomed that change. And he had recorded half an album and then he scratched the whole thing.
I can't even imagine how difficult that is. Like putting in hours and hours to record it and then be like, if I could do better, let's put that in the garbage with Zvi Gluck. Okay, so our next episode was with Zahava Farbman. our only episode so far that we didn't do a video.
You don't know what she looks like.
Right. She asked, we were like at a debate, like, what should we do? She said, listen, I'm like, one of the things I'm working on is sneeze, and I have my own reasons. I have my Rav. I don't want to be on video. I just want to do the audio.
And whereas over here, we're totally fine with showing women and everything. If it was between not having this episode and having her with not being on camera, we felt what was going to be shared and spoken about in this episode was so important that not to be on camera was something.
It's okay, and we our goal is always to make people feel as comfortable as they can. But that was a very
heavy
and you always, Baruch Hashem, you listen to these episodes, listen to these people, you get like little life tools. I think that was maybe the most life tools people could hear. It's
just practical advice.
Just dealing with trauma. Unfortunately, everyone deals with trauma. Everyone deals with death. And she spoke about her experience and how she deals with that. And I was props to you. You got very open and, talking about, your brother-in-law suddenly passing away. But she really gave so many amazing tools that, I want everyone to listen to all episodes, but I highly recommend
especially that
to listen to that.
And a lot of people don't know who she is, maybe, and if you don't, then you're blessed.
True.
Because you
don't want to know her.
You don't. And she doesn't want to know you,
right?
but if you were ever in a situation where you're very close in a shiva house, or there's a tragedy or anything, to know that there's someone, I think this goes back to Klal Yisrael, which is just unbelievable what we have here, is that, take it for my example of my sister losing her husband suddenly, for her to walk in and just be a firefighter almost, and to say, okay, listen, this is we have a garbage man and a firefighter.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But to go ahead and do that, with everything that going on, finding out that you lost your husband, and then you have to tell 5 of your kids that they lost their father.
Right.
Who? How? Who? What?
Yeah,
and what? 20 years ago. Too bad.
Right.
You got to do it.
Right.
And are you doing it the right way? Doesn't matter. You got to do it. But there's a right way to do these things. And big thanks to obviously Chai Lifeline for having such a program and allowing and empowering Zahava Farbman to do these things. But it cannot be discounted even 1% what she does to go into a house that they are going through probably the worst, most unimaginable tragedy ever. And she goes and she sits down and she sorts through it, and she's there until she needs to not be there anymore.
I found very interesting. She was very nervous.
She was.
Yeah, maybe our most nervous guest. And I thought it was like a little ironic, like, like
talk to people who are
she's nervous to talk to us and put this out there, but to go into someone's house and talk about like, yes, that your someone's father just died, like that she'll do. Yeah. And she's a pro at it. But like to talk to Nachi Gordon Yaakov Linger about like what she does, she was like a little nervous.
It's funny, everything. I guess
I think it goes back. Like we're all humans and we all have things about us that
the greatest thing for me is when I ask a guest, "Are you nervous?" and they'll say, "Yeah, a little bit." I'm like, "Yes." I'm not the only one.
Which is our shtick. We ask every person that.
Yeah, very, very few will answer, "Yes, I'm nervous."
Right.
Very few.
A lot. I'm always jealous of the people like, no, not at all. But it's good. It's good. It's a lot of times it's gonna be like a flow and. But yeah, she was great.
And then the next episode.
Ooh.
This was. With all due respect to all of our guests.
Oh gosh.
With all
Are you
of our
gonna say
guests.
something you're gonna regret?
I'm not gonna regret this, but I'm not gonna regret this. But
you hated this app. No, okay.
But sitting down for over an hour with our Moshe Weinberger,
I know,
was an experience. The first time that I ever sat down to do a podcast where I didn't remember where I was, that there was a microphone in front of me, that there were cameras, and we were just so enveloped,
right?
And just talking to him, and it was so. And there were so many times they were so emotional, and he has just tears in his eyes, welling up, talking about his father, talking about the chevra, talking about his experiences. That was such a blessed opportunity to sit down with Moshe Weinberger. So many people probably wish they could do that, and so many people get the opportunity to do that. But there was that episode. is so full of gems.
Yeah, he was so. You mentioned it in like the intro, outro, like 17 times. You're like emotional, but he was very emotional, and he was so authentic, and he's amazing. He's so.
I think
good.
something that's
he's transforming the 5 towns. Like you go back before he was here.
I think it's way bigger than the 5 towns, though.
That's 100%. I'm saying.
I know, but even he definitely is doing a lot on a local level.
Is he a Rebbe at the end of the day? Like he's a Rebbe, right?
He says no.
I know he says no, but of course he's gonna say
he's
no.
Rebbe.
I think he's he's like a modern day Rebbe. Like I mean, it sounds super litfish here, but like for someone who's not Hasidish and they go and they like become a part of his. I put in quotes like the movement, but he's really.
But it's so interesting because he looks at himself as just a part of the chevra. He's part of the guys.
Yeah,
that's just what he is. I think something, and I'm sure a lot of people are like this, but something that for me stands out about him, and when I hear him speak other places, and especially our sit down with him, when he encounters, be it a teenager or an adult or someone who is hurt, who is struggling. He feels that searing pain as if it's happening to him, as if his arm is being cut off, and he wears it on his sleeve. He shows it on his face. He wears it on his sleeve, and that's honestly refreshing.
Yeah,
he's someone he's not desensitized.
Could we have him on every season? I mean,
100%.
He's a million. I know he's so busy.
I think we should let the people answer that.
No. Like, there's so much to talk to him about. Just, I mean, I want everyone back on eventually, but like, I don't know. I could really see having him on.
And it's so funny because that was honestly one of the most serious episodes. Up there is one of the most serious episodes, and the next episode was the funnest and funniest episode.
Yeah. Dovid Bashevkin. It was
all the way from Teaneck, New Jersey. I love Teaneck. I love all my people in Teaneck. The hate mail is finally stopped coming in. I don't even know what I said about Teaneck.
You didn't say anything crazy, but it could have maybe come off as like, hating on them.
Did I say Teaneck was? Oh, I said something. I'm not gonna say it again. But
yeah, don't say it again.
I said something about Teaneck that maybe the Teaneckers didn't love so much.
I don't think it was so bad. Honestly,
it wasn't that bad.
You didn't mean anything bad. But
I respectfully appreciate the feedback, and I since have made a vow to go to Teaneck as much as possible and eat at Humble Toast, to eat at Nobo, and I'm gonna stop advertising for ETC. I'm gonna stop advertising for random Teaneck restaurants now. Besides for Humble Toast, that food is incredible.
They have a Dougie's there also.
Yeah, they do.
There's
so go ahead and check out Teaneck and contribute to their stock market.
But Dovid Bashevkin, what a special guy. I want to say this.
You think anybody's ever introduced him like that before? Dovid Bashevkin, what a special guy.
So there's 2 sides to him. We've heard him speak, and he's maybe it sounds a little like Dembi, but like he's brilliant. Like he said, he loves.
He's like
books.
the director of education for NCSY or something.
Yeah,
like
I think so.
He's really brilliant.
He's brilliant. And no offense, David, he's a little of a nerd. Like he's smart. He's textbook. He loves it. But he's also the other side of him. He's hilarious. He's so
a nerd and
witty.
But he's like a professional nerd. He's like in the greatest. I'm serious, but like he's killing it. Nobody's killing it. He's doing a
for
great,
the older generation killing it.
He's doing a great job at what he's doing.
He has his own podcast.
Probably has a million impressions a month on Twitter.
Follow him if you're not following him. He put out a book, synagogue. He's always putting out stuff.
Obviously, he's known for very, very well known as being the writer of the top 5 column previously in Mishpacha magazine.
We got to delve into a few
which was so much fun talking about top 5.
So I have an idea, by the way. I never mentioned this to you. I was talking to my brother about it. I want to do like a Purim episode. So I don't know what or who. It could be like we have meaningful people. Maybe it'll be someone who's maybe not as meaningful but more fun. Just to Marvin himself.
Can't do meaningless people.
That's my go-to, by the way. If someone like comes like a classic, when are you gonna have me on the podcast? Like we're doing the sister podcast called Meaningless People. Will be the pilot episode.
How many times could we make the same joke to people? Because it happens a lot.
If no one's around, you could say to well, now I can't. I'm killing that joke if someone's listening to this.
Yeah.
We also want to do mean people, like just mean people.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. He's in that, like, maybe we'll have him back for just not necessarily Sunnis, but an episode to it's very hard when you like say an episode to make people laugh, because then it's like, whoa. But I don't know. I think I'll
there's, you know what? The Torah is vast. There's so much depth and wisdom. There's also room for smiles and happiness and fun
comedy,
and laughter.
Anything in this world Hashem made, you know?
Exactly. And Dovid Bashevkin finds ways to do that, introduce it to people in such a beautiful way. And he also spoke about marrying late, dating as an older single, getting married when he's 30 or something, getting gray hair when he's 14 or 15 years old. So, bless you.
I wanna be a little personal here. So after the episode, you'll probably remember this, like we're like talking and just like talking about our families and our situations. And I said, yeah, I'm married and B'Shah Tova in the right time. I'm gonna have kids. And he messaged me. I just had this baby Sunday. We're doing this on Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday, yeah.
And he sent me, first of all, he's very against voice notes. He sent me a 2-minute and 45. He's telling me that I'm saying this, but I don't care. 2-minute and 45-second voice note. And he was just like, you should know, like, I remember when I was talking to you, Naki, like, I mentioned it, and like the whole episode was like talking about like, just not asking the wrong questions. People was like, I felt like I asked you the wrong question. And, for myself, I'm like, I literally didn't even think about it. I'm like, I felt so bad that like he felt bad about it. But he is such a sincere, and like, I got chills when I heard that voice note. I'm like,
that's so funny, because he sent me a voice note the other day also.
Yeah.
I think he just plays this shtick that he doesn't like voice notes, but he thinks that he could just do it to other people.
That's funny.
Mr. Bashevkin, or Rabbi Bashevkin, should I say.
My go-to, but when people say they hate voice notes, and I made a joke about on some other stuff I do with the cardboard box about like no voice notes, but I happen to, Naki knows, I
Yaakov Glazer is the biggest offender of voice notes. Shabbos will be over 6 minutes ago, and I have an 8-minute voice note from Yaakov Glazer.
That's probably the hardest part about you doing this podcast with me. That I literally, props to Naki for listening to them eventually. You're not the best with answering all the time, but I do bombard you with too many
funny
voice notes.
Story. We were supposed to record this year in review episode last Thursday.
Part one.
And I said, well, Yaakov, what's the big deal? Wait, my wife might have a baby. Like, when does she do? End of December. I said, you have time, bro. And then he sent me like this 3-minute voice note, which I didn't listen to. And I said, okay, let's just do it Monday. And his wife had a baby, of course, how faith has it. His wife had a baby on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back at my messages, and I see there's this 3-minute voice note I didn't listen to, and I listened to it, and you're like, it could happen at any time. My wife can go into labor tomorrow. She can go into labor now. I think we should do it. And I completely just missed it. But that's just like, that's the way it is working with Yaakov Glazer. You gotta just, be ready to listen to 20 podcasts a day.
Mini podcasts
in terms of voice notes. The next guest we had on.
Ooh.
Rabbi Pesach Krohn, maybe the most well-known guest we've had, known everywhere.
Yeah,
he's known in Argentina, in Europe, in South America, in Central America, everywhere.
Master storyteller,
the modern day Maggid.
Yeah, a Moel, maybe the most famous Moel.
Could be.
His son-in-law actually mentioned I'm going to do the best on my son. So he with him. I don't say this about many guests, and I know I said this on the episode. I need to say it again. He is such a Zeus person. No, he's so. I mean, again, in the most respectful way. I don't know how to say it, but like he's a really Zeus person. I enjoyed just schmoozing with him talking to him.
And I'll tell you, I think I know why you say that. He has a certain, class and like an old schoolness to him that is super just like warm. The fact that we did this episode, and then the next day we got a package from him of books, that's here.
Right over there.
And I just think, I'm just going to talk to an empty chair. This is how, you see, like, Yaakov just walks away sometimes. He just sent us...
sent us The Glittering World of Chesed. He wrote like 20 million books.
Yeah, funny story about that.
Yeah,
so a lot of times we do some prep, and we'll speak to our guests before the episodes, and Yaakov called up Rabbi Krohn, and he said... we will speak to you about like a book you wrote. What book did you write? And this really this has a lot of background to it. Yaakov Glazer knows very little people.
I know very,
and he knows
people.
very little about the people that he knows.
That's why we're doing this podcast, so I can just know about
this whole thing is
awesome
just about Yaakov's family. Yaakov's family is actually paying for us to just get Yaakov to know more people, just because it's a good thing to know things.
It's so true.
Yaakov had no idea. I didn't know.
I didn't know.
And Rabbi Pesach Krohn's like, in the most respectful way possible, he's like, I wrote 15 books. Which one?
Yeah, I know.
And it's just so funny. And he, Rabbi Pesach Krohn was just really so nice to have on. Again, another example of someone who crazy busy schedule.
Yeah.
Whether it's going from a bris to a speech, and then he came here, sat down with us, and he spoke. And he did not stop calling us afterwards to say, I think this guy would be a good guest, and I think that guy would be a good guest. And just was such an honor and a pleasure to sit down with him and speak to him.
Yeah, and him also, like, he has trillion stories, so I would love to bring him back to schmooze about those. Our next guest
happened pretty quick. Our next guest,
very quick, and I didn't know him. I don't know. I barely know anyone unless they're like involved in my life. But I didn't know him either. And now he's like, I hear such wonderful things about this Rabbi Moshe Kestenbaum,
and this underrated. Yeah, but one of the most incredible feedback came from this episode. He's whether you're a parent or a teenager and you listen to this episode. You mentioned in the Zahava Farbman episode that there's so much, practical advice. This one as well.
Yeah,
this one as well.
Chinuch. He was he's a Maggid chair in Waterbury for so many years, and he's doing his he's in another.
He's involved with Heichal Torah and Mishnah Shari Prusder.
So he's like one of those guests that. And he wrote an incredible sefer that unfortunately he's not as I'll put him next to Rabbi Pesach Krohn. He's not okay. Rabbi Pesach Krohn is very well known, and Rabbi Moshe isn't as well known.
But he should be.
He should be, and
that's why we're so excited to put out this episode. I mean, going into an episode, we never know how the episode's going to turn out. It's part of the, I don't want to say scary, but the risky part of what we do is a time investment we're putting in to sit down with someone. We never know if it's going to, pay dividends, if it's going to be something that we can use and stay on our content calendar and put out stuff. Baruch Hashem, we've never, had an issue. And Rav Moshe Kestenbaum, like, that over-delivered, like, big time. Not saying at all that I had low expectations or anything like that, but that episode was incredible.
Yeah.
And people really walked away learning so much from it. And I was so excited to put that out.
Yeah, he was really great. And we're nearing the end of it, but I want to talk about our sponsors.
Okay.
Or our advertiser.
Okay. This is more than an advertiser, and they're not even paying us right now to talk about them. That's how much we love them. Our friends over at AMR Pharmacy. They got involved pretty early on in the production of this show. Can I say names or no?
First name.
We spoke to Shiggy and Mili from AMR Pharmacy, and we're like,
I say first name and like literally the most unique first names.
They have the rarest first names in Klal Yisrael.
We won't say the last name Oprah.
No, it's like their last name is like, let's say Rosenberg. That's the most.
Nice, the last name.
Yeah, but like that could be like anyone's name. Anyways. Shiggy and Mili, they we spoke to them early on about what we were doing here, and they were so into it. And they said, you know what?
Props to them. Like we didn't even know what it will be yet. And they're like, no, we think you have something here, and we love what you're doing.
We want to get involved.
We want to be involved, and obviously we want to promote what we're doing. And we had a few other advertisers, honestly, that reached out and were like, yeah, it wasn't a bad fit. It just wasn't the best fit. And we're like, okay, a really honest and good pharmaceutical company. I think that's great. I think that's a really great shit.
There's something about the AMR and Meaningful People relationship that is so strong and secure.
What was the thing that Shiggy came up with? AMR?
Another meaningful result.
Right? That's nice.
Yeah, another season of AMR is another meaningful result, which in Mirz Hashem we'll be talking about. But we really, hats off to them.
Yeah.
Shiggy, Mili, the whole staff at AMR.
And
we wouldn't be able to be doing what we're doing without their involvement.
Yeah.
Because for us to take out the time of our days and it's guys, it's way more than just the hour sitting here talking.
We'll talk about that more on the next episode of what goes into the production of the actual episodes. But yeah, it's definitely it also costs us money, so it's definitely appreciated when we get helped out, so we could continue doing this. So yeah, thank you to AMR, and if you don't use them yet, if you live in New York, New Jersey, 848-222-1110. Holy cow, I know the number by heart. Or
what's your wife's number?
5. Oh, I don't want to say it on the air, but I know my wife's number. I joke that I don't know her number. I know her number. Yes, I do.
I know a few people's number by heart, but AMR is like, if you wake me up in the middle of the morning and you punch me in the face, you pour cold water on me, and you tell me AMR's number, I will get it to you.
It's tattooed into our brain.
Cold, and I think that it's the same result for a lot of our guests.
So we're going to delve into 2 more episodes. So next up, Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser.
That was an experience. That was, I think, the first episode that Yaakov and I traveled outside of our office to do.
Which let's talk about that. We do get that every here and there, like, oh, could you come to me? And obviously we would love to, but there's a lot of equipment here. There's our mics, there's our recorders, there's 3 cameras, there's lighting, and the sound where we do the recordings need to be good, which in that episode you hear some like Borough Park traffic going on over there. But it was a very unique moment where he was in very quickly, and I told Nachi, we got suggestion from Rav Gav, and he's like, he's in, go for it. And
you can't let that one go.
And we went in. It was actually very difficult for us to pull that off. There was no air conditioning, and it was 90 degrees in there.
It was a summer.
It was a beautiful office, but it was. I think it was still so new that they didn't
Shout out to Brooklyn Square.
Yeah.
Nachi was not happy that day. We were just sitting there, and it was just 95 degrees.
But what do you think about Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser as a person?
One of the most unique people I've ever met in my entire life.
For those who, I don't do this often, but those who listen to the episode, Google a picture of him or watch the episode. He sounds like this, but you look at him, he looks super.
O.J. Simpson came to my door and he asked, "Can I buy this house?"
Pretty good, actually.
Whatever.
But he has like the most like non-Hasidic sounding deep voice, and then you see him and he looks super Hasidic.
And really only merely a few weeks after that episode released, he had gotten into a really bad biking accident where he snapped his leg in like a few different places, and a lot of people obviously davened for him, and Baruch Hashem, he's doing a whole lot better.
Yeah, he's
and he's back, he's up and running.
Do you remember I messaged you?
Yeah,
I messaged Nachi. I'm like, Nachi, Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser, his WhatsApp status is like him literally like crying. He's like, guys, like, and he shows his foot. His foot looks terrible. He's like, guys, I just got in a crazy mountain biking accident. Classic him. Not the accident, the mountain biking part. And he's like, please daven for me. And he said his name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Nachi, like, oh my gosh, like this is terrible. Like, what are we gonna do? And you're like, okay, like I think it's terrible, but like, if he has enough energy to do like a WhatsApp status, like of course it's an emergency, and like let's say
we put out his name to daven.
Yes, we did. But Baruch Hashem, everything ended well.
But definitely one of our most unique guests. Maybe the longest episode.
Is it?
It's
It's long. It's definitely long. But
he's
so interesting.
It's a journey.
A few people, by the way, who know him well were like, actually came up to me and like, what about this and this and that? I'm like, listen, we want to make these, ideally, I want to make them as short as possible, but we have to bring people back on.
It's so funny. Yaakov and I, when we started doing these, our goal was to do 45 minutes to an hour. It literally, like to get someone less than an hour is really difficult.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to say so much. And then our next episode, it was such a just enjoyable experience. They all are.
Wasn't for me though, but yeah.
Sitting down with,
you know why?
Yes. Sitting down with Rav Judah Mischel from Camp Hask.
Okay, so first off, I think from all our guests, I do a lot of the research before.
Yes, Yaakov is the research guy.
And I enjoy it. I really love it. I love talking to Rabbi Pesach Krohn's children and Rabbi Moshe Weinberger's son-in-laws and sons and people's wives and cousins and best friends. Not going to give me a look. Wives. I mean the family, and get to hear what the beautiful things they have to say about them. Either way, Rav Judah was the most. Anyone I spoke to was the most. Everyone obviously gives positive things, but like the excitement I got for having Rav Judah.
Michelle.
I don't know how to say his name.
Michelle.
It was just unbelievable. And Nachi and I will transparently, we don't come from that world. We don't really know Hask so well. I mean, obviously now we got to know a lot better, or the YU world, or maybe the modern Orthodox world. Is he a part? I don't know. He hates labels probably, but we don't really know him so well. But like doing the research for him was it was so
Yaakov,
nice.
Tell us why you did not sleep that night, because I was getting messages from Yaakov Langer throughout the entire night.
I bugged out. Okay,
so Judah Mischel
during camp.
He had gone to Camp Simcha.
No,
and
Camp
he'd gone back Camp Hask.
That's something we Nachi. Camp Simcha, Camp Hask are very different places.
He had gone to Camp Hask.
Yeah,
and then he went back to Israel
Yes.
And then he's going back to Camp Hask.
Yes.
And this was his second time coming in when he sat down to do the episode with us. Take us from there.
So I knew I didn't have COVID. Okay. This is in the summer.
But no one actually ever knows.
No one actually never knows. No, I had these symptoms of having a cold. Like I was sneezing a lot, which is not a COVID thing. And like I had my taste and I had a bunch of like cold related stuff, not COVID related stuff. But I told him, I said, I gave him a hug. I'm like, I wanted to distance that episode, but he got in there. He's
a warm guy.
He's like, give me a hug. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Yaakov, I just went for it. He's like, let's do a Chaim. And I'm like, okay, right before we sat down, I have to be honest with you, Rav Judah. I have a cold and I don't have COVID. I got tested actually. I'm waiting for the results. It's coming back tomorrow morning. He's like,
I remember he looked at you and he said, "Oh wow, I'd be disappointed."
He's like, I don't know you. I would be so disappointed with you. I would never tell you how disappointed I am because I don't want to make you feel bad.
Yaakov, you're saying it totally wrong. He's just like, "Oh, I would be so disappointed."
He's like, do you realize like all the kids in Hask, I want to be able to go back. I'm like, holy cow.
So Yaakov
I felt
was up,
so bad.
You were up the entire night.
I literally was. I called my friend Benji Weintraub to like, handle like, what do you think? What's going to happen? I was talking that literally bothering Nachi the whole night. My wife's like, stop it. You're crazy. You literally have a cold. And the results came back and I had a cold. And I was so happy to tell him that. But yeah, I was bugging out. But yeah, Fun
fact about this episode: we didn't just record one episode with him. Then we had sat down for another 30 minutes after, and we sort of did like a sort of
deep dive,
unplugged,
rant. Yeah, rant. He went on a rant, like just bashing the parts of
his pet peeves, I guess.
The pet peeves of like Klal Yisrael that like are just so dumb, and he was just like open about it, and it was really nice to hear.
We're gonna release that at some point.
Yeah.
But this was us going through our first 16 episodes of the Meaningful People podcast, guys. We're going to wrap up on one more review next week. We're going to delve a little bit more into the production end and some things that you have no idea had happened or does happen behind the scenes that you maybe want to know.
Yeah, and then the things that kind of maybe get us excited, the things that annoy us, the maybe, how our lives have changed in many ways. But if you listen,
people thinking we could talk for 36 hours straight.
Right, that's true. If you listen to this one, please listen to the next one. There's so much more for us to say.
And the challenge for you is to listen to this and then say, you know what? There's one episode that I didn't listen to yet.
Nice.
I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah.
It could be the Uncle Moishy. It could be Rabbi Moshe Kestenbaum. It could be either of these episodes. Say, you know what? I'm gonna just let me listen. And it might not be someone I know, but I'm gonna take their word for it. I might enjoy it. So we appreciate, and of course, we'll talk to you next week as well. But we appreciate you guys, the listeners, the viewers, the watchers.
We couldn't do it if it wasn't for you.
We actually could, just no one watched. I mean, we could totally do it. AMR, we can't do without.
Right.
But you.
Right.
I'm kidding.
But it's definitely the fuel that keeps us going, like hearing all the beautiful feedback and just seeing the numbers grow of like people are actually listening to this.
Yesterday I was walking in the street and someone passing by and they did like a double take and they said, usually someone will say, "Oh, the Meaningful Minute guy." She said, "Meaningful People."
Nice.
Like, yeah.
Nice, I like that.
It's like, yeah, I love it.
That's awesome.
Me too. But
so yeah, search out for that one episode that you didn't listen to yet and give it a try. And we're really, really excited to make a few announcements next week. So please listen and don't forget to always bench after you wash up.
Even Al Michya matters. Baruch Nefashos, anything, whatever it may be.
Okay.
Ciao.